This is an interview with Steven Spielberg and Cooper. So I'm doing this as kind of like a screen test. Yeah, maybe St. Patty. So it's a possibility. And they're in the TCL theater. It's a Chinese theater. I think they used to call it the Grauman Theater. But anyway, regardless of what they called it, it's the new TCL theater. I was in there with Jim Carrey doing The Majestic. I think that's the theater. It just looks so different. He's interviewing. He was the producer of Maestro, and that's Cooper, the star, also the director and the writer. They're going to have a conversation. But lo and behold, I found that as I was working on, you guessed it, the script. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going through the last page that I worked on, and then I'm jotting that down in a little tally, and then I'm going from one point to another point. But I'm also going to go back to the tavern, and I've painfully gone through this scene because if this is offered to Gary Oldman, which I hope it ends up on his lap, I want to have this scene pretty ready. This is a 4.5 year process thing, off and on. Tony, Ian, and bartender, I pictured in my head for Ian, Sir Ian McKellen, and Tony, Anthony Hopkins, only because I think they would work really well with Gary Oldman, and also it brings an homage to the Royal Shakespeare Company. Even though what you're watching in the scene is these guys in a pub. This is kind of the close encounter scene where, okay, so there's a guy named Richard Dreyfuss, okay? Everybody knows who Richard Dreyfuss is. And he sees this thing called the Devil's Doorbell, I think that's what they call it, on television. And Spielberg made this movie, Close Encounters, and it has kind of the aspect of Close Encounters because it brings in all these people from all over the world that are all these vloggers. And particularly surrounding this possible werewolf. We don't know if the werewolf is real at first. Well, we kind of do, because of the opening, but we don't see the werewolf. Something kills these two vloggers along this road in the middle of Marfa, Texas, and then it goes into a fighting film for about 30 minutes, a very serious fighting film. Gets out of the fighting film, and then we go to Barksville, Texas, which goes 10 years later. Basically, it just jumps 10 years. And they're going to Barksville, and then there's a U-Haul driver that talks about the previous tenants that lived, or the previous people, I guess you could say, that lived on this ranch, had seen these mutilations, or these cow mutilations, and all this kind of stuff. And occasionally there's a howling throughout the script. But the tavern is something I've worked on and everything. And so this is when Gerald Oldman III realizes that Grace Lepine, which is a UFC fighter who I'd like to play, hopefully, is actually really a werewolf. Because Gerald Oldman III he has created this YouTube page called Monster Quest. So he goes out and studies the history of monsters, the legend of monsters, even Dracula. There's a scene in here where he goes to Dracula's castle in Whitby, and it's kind of a silent scene and all this stuff. Regardless, there's these hints of werewolf throughout the movie. Here's one of them, the cartoon wolf chasing the rabbit on the television, which you see in the tavern. And also at the very beginning too, we see a shirt flapping on this barbed wire fence, which is Wile E. Coyote, which was an old shirt from another vlogger that possibly had been attacked by this werewolf. The werewolf is definitely a tool in the movie, commenting possibly on vlogging, the vlogging phenomenon or the vlogging sensation. So I wrote this using all this other stuff as metaphors, and I'm not focusing on the werewolf at all. You only have a few moments of the werewolf. I think there's a time. Anyway, John Blacksmith, who I wanted Post Malone to play, hopefully, who believes in aliens, because he sees it in a barn at one moment, and And that's when we get a kind of a sight of it. Okay, so that happens. And so what happens, and also just as a side note, I did read some of a book called Invasive Species, which was about aliens that were actually, that look like werewolves. So I'm not really, saying that they're really aliens. What I'm saying is that we don't know where this werewolf comes from, but we know that towards the end of the movie that it's actually Rainey Love, which is the spouse of Grace Lippman, the UFC fighter. And he has a good friend named St. Patty the Great, and that was the role I wanted, a cameo role for Cooper if he would take it on. Anyway, we're going to look at this scene. I'm just kind of scanning through it so you can kind of see it. And then I'm going to go through it painfully, and then to make sure everything is good, and that's probably what I'm going to do today. All right, good. Part of the reason why I do this is because I learn and then I teach. So this is a great instruction manual for comedy. They're very specific about dialogue and where everything is, but their descriptions work very well on a movie set. It's like close on High's hand, high angle cell, It's just very easy to, this must have been a joy to make this movie. Close shot, Ed, that kind of stuff, close on High's hand. They also do a lot of things like back to Ed and things like that. And you got to see Raising Arizona, but I'm basically keeping this right next to me for Grace because of the rhythm of the. It's funny because there's a scene where he's interviewing a lady and they have a tripod on a camera in this sequence right here, and it's actually in the not the parole thing, but in the booking thing whenever he falls in love with Edwina. But anyway, that's kind of what I'm doing, just to kind of get an idea of how they handle language for cinema, for the movie. Now, a lot of times I'll just do like wide shot dash, whalebone arch. This is in the Abbey, Whitby Abbey. Angle on whalebone arc and Gerald Ullman III. I'm keeping it general so that if we get on set, we're like, well, instead of doing an angle, let's just do it all wide. Maybe, but it would still be an angle, It's arguable, It could be a wide angle. But if you line your shot up just so under this whalebone arch, you've got to stand just in the right spot. Right in the center of the frame, on the horizon, will be Whitby Abbey, the inspiration for Stoker's Dracula. Gerald Ullman III walks under the center of the whalebone arch and records the horizon of the Abbey. It's quite the trick for the camera. Look at that, my friends. Oh, so gothic under those storm clouds. Very much like painting right out of Stoker's book. It's quite the scene, isn't it, my friend? Quite the scene for our monster quest. Cut to, and then we go to this dark room for photography. I just threw it in there late at night. Gerald Ullman III dips a white sheet of photographic paper in a white tray filled with fixer solution. A photo of shadow puppet vampire bat slowly begins to develop. So we see that he's like developing some of this with like old school photographic paper. Then we cut to and back in the interior Dracula's Experience Museum near Whitby Abbey Night. I like to call him Dracula. Angle on black wall, curtain splits before a red bulb. A digital projector projects a shadow puppet scene in a black wall. The shadow puppet of a young woman combs her hair. The shadow puppet of a bat flies up to the shadow puppet of a young lady. The shadow puppet of the bat falls and the shadow puppet of the Dracula's image arises in its place. The shadow of the young lady turns startled and is grabbed by the shadow puppet of Dracula. The shadow of the young lady falls out of frame. Now this is really in their little walk-through experience of Dracula's castle. And this is what he's doing. And Gerald Ullman III walks through. I actually put the address of the museum. You can actually go there. That's the real United Kingdom address. So it's a real place. At least, it moves or something. There's a mechanical wolfman in there too. This creature, his head pops out from the panel in the hallway and monsterly growls. Gerald Ullman III jerks back in fright and directs his smartphone camera at the howling wolfish robot and records the experience. So he's actually walking through and recording the haunted house.
Building a celebration, but inside here is some celebration lore photographs, hard hats, construction stuff. Someone just went by really quickly on a bike. We're gonna go ahead and check it out. Hopefully the door's not locked. What if the door was locked? The thing I really love about this is you first walk in. What is that noise? The door. The thing I like about this is you walk in, you see walls. You have an incredible amount of merchandise in here too.
All right, kitty. It's your job to hold down the fort. So I'm going to show you some things. Now you have scratch posts. You've got your, I don't know, I guess it's a condo that you can hang out in. It's 2 levels. And the well short tunnel. All right? This would be low angle. Make a comment if you know, if you're a screenwriter. I'm trying to learn the language of screenwriting, and I started with Sid Field in 1992. I'm still trying to learn it. It's just because you don't really ever understand it completely, I guess, until you're on set, probably, and then you're looking at the script and you're looking at the camera. But I think that would be low angle. All right, 64 degrees Fahrenheit. The odometer reads 204,508 miles. I'm sorry, the odometer. The odometer. The odometer. It's temperature and the odometer. All right, and December 14th. So out of that 71 miles, we probably only used maybe 50 miles of it or so last night. The odometer reads 204,508 miles. All right, headed to delivery. We're coming up on Lightscape, Botanical Gardens. Online it's FWBG. It's to the left right here. Is where they have it set up, all in there. It's supposed to be an extravaganza, international phenomenon of lights that they bring in. And I don't know if you drive through it or you walk through it. I think I have a feeling you walk through it. I have to read up more online, but I think you buy a slot. It's like a ticket. Right now, if you don't have a membership, it's up to $30, and then with the membership, I think it's $18. That's the entrance. I saw $15 on there somewhere, but I think that might have to do with, I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But that's the Botanic Gardens, and they're advertising Lightscape. Somewhere in there. That's telling of it right there. And then Will Rogers. That's the Will Rogers Equestrian Building. It's Memorial Center is what they call it. And then right here is the best Christmas pageant ever at Casa Manana. And they're going to be doing Seussical the Musical, which is about Dr. Seuss. About the characters that he created. Casa Manana. Really cool theater. It's in the Round. And they're running light on the Christmas trees. Someone must have came in here and bought them all up. But they'll bring in more before the end of the year. There's a few of them left. And that's at Farrington Field. First delivery, 5:09 arrival, 4 minutes, 1.3 miles. It's got a little unicycle thing. Those are kind of cool. I don't know if he's using it for delivery though. I hope not. There's a corner side of Montgomery Plaza. The light, sunlight reflecting off. They're apartment rooms now, or little townhomes. They stack up there. And they're all the way from Florida. Can't stop my hands from shaking. Something in my mind's not making sense. Trying to stop my hands from shaking, but something in my mind's not making sense. It's been a while since we're all alone. I can't hide this feeling. I can't hide the way I'm feeling. There's a Trinity right there. Well, it's Trinity Park. Trinity's right here. We'll cross up on it. Like, my goodness gracious. Let's see if I... That's where we shot The Way of Man right there. We videoed it with the Samsung 8. Where all those love locks are. Yeah, it is kind of a French thing there. Thanks for getting in the shot, buddy. Appreciate it. Nice economy car, Elantra. Yeah. You get the point. I think it goes, try to stop my hands from shaking, but something in my mind's not making sense. It's been a while since we're all alone. I can't hide the way I'm feeling. Would you please, when you leave, would you please shut the door? And don't forget what I told you. As you leave, would you please close the door? And don't forget what I told you. Just 'cause you're right, that don't mean I'm wrong. Just another shoulder to cry upon. Kind of getting it. I wanna use your love tonight. Oh my goodness. This is going to the retirement home right here. I've served them probably a few $1,000s in pharmaceutical medicines or roadie. Probably more than that. Yeah, they're a retirement community. They're really funny people. I've been in there. They're real friendly. I know. I'm not going to just go right there. You got a biker right here, okay? Golly. Guy's acting like he's from New York. I go this way right here. The guy's probably from New York. I'll just go around to the other side here. Yeah, it's it's off of Texas Street. I know that the word City Tower is in it. That's one of the names of the building. Is City Tower. But that's where all the old folks go when they get old. When I get older, losing my head. Many years from now, it's called the Trinity Terrace. Would you still send me a Valentine birthday cake and... Hang on a minute. Okay, I got it. When I get older, losing my head, many years from now, would you still send me a Valentine birthday greetings, a bottle of wine? They ordered this a day before, too. They had it scheduled exactly, perfectly. Reserved for future residents. This is where they're going to put me. I'll be up here tapping away at screenplays, sending them to Hollywood. You would need to get into Hollywood to get in here anyway. That's true. Maybe they'll give me at least 80 to 100,000 for Grays. Is reserved for future residents, but you'd have to practically get into Hollywood to get in here. Be tapping away screenplays to send them to Hollywood for a few $100,000. That way you can get the pizza that you need. When I get older, losing my head, many years from now.